Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Brandon Anderson, NBA futures analyst. This is your Western Conference 3-6, 4-5 series previews and betting guide for the NBA playoffs first round. Today we'll talk about the Los Angeles Clippers taking on the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll break down those series. We'll give you our best bets on those series and how we're looking at them. We'll break them down from every conceivable angle. Everything we talk about can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. You'll be able to track our futures. Our stuff will pop in there. We logged the stuff from yesterday on the East series. I'll do the West today once I think figure out what I'm betting on the show. All those types of things can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. Download it. Get the pro subscription, so you get Sean Kerner, you get Brandon Anderson, you get Chris Raybon, you get Sean Zerillo, you get Nick Giffen, you get all of the geniuses at Action Network. Make sure to sign up for the pro account. Go to youtube.com/the Action Network. Buckets Live. We are bringing it back. So starting Friday night after the games, Brandon and I will be live on youtube.com/the Action Network, breaking down the 1-8 matchups. So you can join and hang out and give us your thoughts on those series. If you think the Chicago Bulls or the Miami Heat or the Orlando Magic or the Atlanta Hawks could do any damage versus the Cavs, and if you think that the Kings or the Mavericks or the Warriors or the Grizzlies can do anything against the Thunder, there's your chance to come in and tell us why you like them to keep it competitive, plus 2.5 on the series price, etc. Then we will start doing Buckets Live pretty consistently throughout the week. We'll have a schedule for you next week on when those are going to be. That honestly depends a lot on when the Nuggets are playing a playoff game and I have to go to the arena. But we'll have that schedule for you. It'll be most nights, and we'll have Michael Fiddle's going to be on there with me. Brian Fonseca's going to be on there with me. Joe Dallaire is going to be on there with me. We'll break down the action from that night. We'll give our bad beats, best bets, all sorts of stuff, as well as look forward to the next day's games. That's in addition to our normal episodes, which will be coming to you every weekday, covering the next day's game. So you're going to get like a double dip of best bets from all sorts of different folks throughout the season. We are going ham on the NBA playoffs, and I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to die at all. I'm going to be totally okay. I'm going to sleep a lot, and I'm going to be not have a heart attack. It's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely terrific. Brandon, let's talk about the Los Angeles Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I did a live show with you. I did a reaction pod with you after the Lakers got Luka Doncic for nothing. You go, well, what about Anthony Davis? Yeah, nothing. And I was like, well, you got to wait because the price will get better. And the other guys on with us were like, oh, you got to wait because the price will get better. And you're like, what are you talking about? You got to bet it now. Lakers to win the title. Lakers to win the West. You got to do it now. It's LeBron James and Luka Doncic. What do you, before we do our 10-word thesis, what are you betting for Wolves Lakers, Brandon?
Ask me my 10-word thesis. It'll lead better into it.
What's your 10-word thesis for Lakers versus Wolves?
Would anyone like to buy some lightly used Lakers futures? That's my 10 words. My best bet is Timberwolves, baby, on the series spread -1.5. So that's Timberwolves in 6 or less, plus 300 at Bet365. I'm out on these Lakers. I don't believe at all.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. My 10-word thesis: these two teams are not so different from last year's Western Conference Finals. So that to me is that to me is we're oppo again. Unbelievably, we're in opposition again. Okay, so my 10-word thesis is going to be these teams are not too dissimilar from the Western Conference Finals last year. All right, let's get into some prices here. The Clippers are currently -110. This opened at ridiculous numbers, just like stupid numbers. Whereas, like, I think Clippers 190 was on the board when we did buckets on Sunday. And I was like, well, I want to kind of think about it. And like,
you're saying Clippers. Is this Lakers?
You're right. I never make mistakes. Ever. I'm like the one take king. I got it.
All right.
Here we go. All right, my 10-word thesis is going to be these two teams are not so dissimilar from last year's Western Conference Finals. Let's do some series prices, and I'll give my best bet The Lakers are minus 200, Wolves plus 160 at DraftKings. Shop around, obviously, whichever side you want. Make sure you find the best price. Series spread on this one, you can find Lakers minus 1.5 at plus 120. You can find Wolves plus 1.5 at minus 145 at DraftKings. So my best bet is going to be Lakers minus 1.5 at plus 120. Lakers in 6 or more or fewer. So that's going to be my best bet. I love the Los Angeles Lakers here. Okay. So we're Oppo again, 3 out of 3 so far, with us being on opposite sides. Tell me, we were talking before the show, and you were like, "This is going to be like the prototypical. I like the numbers, and you like the matchups. With you liking the numbers, and me liking the matchups." So, is there? How much of this is just the Mavericks or the Timberwolves are like a better team? Like, how much of this is just that?
It's a lot of it, honestly. It is a lot that, yeah, as I, again, we've talked about this, like I kind of do my like team by team capsule of, okay, what do I think about the team before I get to the matchup stuff? And I was surprised. I was like, man, the Timberwolves profile, like you've been saying it. I should not have been surprised. You've been saying it for months now. Timberwolves profile is really good. Like the profile is good. The profile is good and getting better. I think by the metrics, the Timberwolves offense is clearly better than the Lakers offense. And by the metrics, the Timberwolves defense is way better than the Lakers defense. And where I got to with the matchup is, okay, the Timberwolves are better on paper. We know that. The data is there. That's all great. But none of the Lakers data means anything because they just got Luka and everything is different now and like throw all the data out. However, we do have some amount of data. We do have since the All-Star break worth of data. And the data since the All-Star break with Luka is still a very mid team. Like everything we have from before and after the trade says this is not really that good of an offense on the Lakers, not that good of a defense. They've certainly had hot stretches on both sides of the ball. We know that. But even like the record, what are they, like 14 and 13, I think, since the All-Star break? LeBron has run hot and cold this year as far as how he's looked. I think that's just an age thing and the injuries that have come along the way. I can't find a reason to believe in the Lakers other than just the two very, very scary names on the back of the jerseys. And I think to me, if you ignore the jersey names and focus on everything else available, I think it has to be the Timberwolves. Last year, you may recall, listeners may recall, I came on here and picked against my Timberwolves in the opening round, and I said, Suns sweep. Suns, matchups. It's matchups. The Suns have the matchup. The Timberwolves can't match up with the Suns. Suns sweep. And they never won another game since then, like including this entire regular season. They still haven't won a game since then. So I'm not getting duped by the matchup thing again. I don't love the matchup. I'm going to agree with most of the points you're going to make on who defends Luka. I don't know. There wasn't an answer last year. I don't know who is now. I don't have answers to it. I just am taking the team that I think is better. And I do think Lakers offensively versus Minnesota defensively, I do have plenty of answers to give when we get to that as well.
Are you, I'm not going to overreact. I'm just going to ask my colleague, are you suggesting that matchups are relevant in playoff analysis?
Of course they're relevant. They are, of course, always relevant. You're just way better at the matchup stuff than I am. I have watched like 95% less data and film than you have during the year. I go by data. It works for me. You go by matchups. Perhaps it works for you. We're doing our own thing. I can only give you so much on that one.
What a Minnesota passive aggressive ass take. Jeez. Okay. Let's start on when the Lakers have the ball. Let's start on that side because that's going to be the big question mark here.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to overreact to how Luka destroyed the Wolves because like there's confirmation bias here on my side, where it's like once the Mavericks got past that Thunder, and we saw that one coming a mile away. The Wolves coming off of a 7-game series versus the Nuggets, who they were built to beat. The Wolves thought they won the West when they knocked off Denver after Game 7. And like we immediately took Dallas in the first game. And we bet Dallas in the series because, and like, this is the big part of it, as I was like, they can't guard Luka. They do not have, as good as they are defensively, the Minnesota Timberwolves can guard 98% of the best personnel that the NBA puts towards them. Luka's in the 2%. They've got nothing for him. He's too big, too strong, too powerful for Jaden McDaniels and Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Anthony Edwards. He is way too fast for Naz Reid. They don't have a matchup they can go to. I guess theoretically, maybe I'm overlooking the Jalen Clark factor here, but unless that's going to be the move, I can't get there. That's my starting place with a lot of this, but I want to hear your thoughts on the Lakers offense versus the Wolves defense.
So I don't know that this answers what you just said, but my takeaway and my hope from a Timberwolves standpoint is I don't know who guards Luka. I don't think that there's an answer. I do think the Timberwolves can have answers for who guards Austin Reeves and LeBron James. And I don't mind the idea of, like, the Lakers. I believe in nothing on the Lakers after those three guys. Those three guys are clearly very good. Austin Reeves has been awesome. The rest of the roster, to me, is trash. It's so bad. I don't believe in anything about it. If the Wolves can defend Reeves and LeBron, and they defended LeBron pretty well in the regular season series, if they can defend those two and say, okay, Luka beat us on your own, I don't mind that outcome for them, because here's some of the other stuff, and we know I'm in the 4 factors, but the 4 factor stuff really looks good by the numbers. The question is, do the numbers matter for the Lakers? Because the data has not as much Luka in it. But turnovers. We know the Timberwolves are good at forcing turnovers. Not quite as good this year, but still very good. Top 10. The Lakers have turned it over a lot this year, and they've turned it over more, not less, since getting Luka Doncic. Turnovers have gone up. I think that is a way to get some easy buckets, get some easy points. They're going to need them. It's going to be tough when they get the points. The Lakers, obviously, don't shoot a ton of threes. They've gotten up to an average 3-point team this year. It's much better than they were before, but they want the twos. They're top 5 on 2%. The Timberwolves are top 10 2% defense. Are they in this matchup? I don't know. That's Rudy Gobert. Can Rudy Gobert stay on the court? Can he have an impact, or is that not a factor? That's up for grabs. The Lakers, of course, are the number 1 free throw team. One big change for Minnesota this year from last year's defense. I think the defense, the metrics are clearly a little bit worse this year. I think it is a more sound defense. I think it's less of a gamble and be a super over aggressive defense, more of a sound, okay, I actually trust that this is a pretty good defense all around here, not just highs and lows. The Timberwolves have cut their fouls from among the highest in the league to top 10 fewest in the league. So if the Lakers are not getting huge numbers of free throws, they did in one of the 4 games, granted, the one that Luka was playing. So, maybe that's all that matters. But if they can cut the free throws, not give a ton of twos, turn them over, the Lakers are bottom quarter of the league in second chance points. They're bottom quarter of the league in points off turnovers. We talked about this as one of the teams on our previous one. The Lakers haven't done a good job getting easy stuff. There's no easy button for this team. The button is LeBron and Reeves and Luka go do stuff. It's a pretty good button, but it'd be nice to get some easy stuff. And the Timberwolves defense is really good. And I think the Lakers could actually struggle to score at times. In 4 matchups this year, again, only one with Luka, they were below 50% effective field goal, all 4 of them. The Lakers were 47, 44, 44, 48. Those are bad numbers. That is Minnesota defending well, defending LeBron well most of those games, and Reeves well. I think if you can effectively trick Luka into saying, I'm going to beat you by myself, you don't have anyone that can guard me, I think Minnesota can live with that outcome.
Okay. So the fouls thing, I think, is mostly just like, I'm never going to be able to get there because I'm just like, we've seen. Like,
yeah, this is your Lakers thing. I understand. Like, I might just be wrong on that. I admit that as well.
We know the Lakers.
Let me just acknowledge that this is a direct why I bet Timberwolves -1.5. I want zero part of a Lakers Game 7 in LA with a generational Luka and LeBron whistle. No, thank you, sir.
You mentioned the record since the All-Star break. So in there was a long stretch where both LeBron and Luka were out. So I decided to pull the numbers. With LeBron James and Luka Doncic this season, overall, this is not an offensive thing, but just overall, we mentioned kind of like that they're like 17 and 16 or something like that. They're 15-8 straight up with Luka and LeBron playing, with a plus 4.5 point differential versus a pretty tough strength of schedule. 13-10 ATS, by the way, with a slight lean to the under at 11-12 at 12-11 to the under. So that to me is like a relevant part of this. If we look at like their best lineups, like what their best punch is, because this is like where so much to me gets into kind of the thing. Here's like an interesting thing. Luka, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, LeBron, and Jackson Hayes. That's their intended starting five. That lineup only has a 112.3 offensive rating. That's interesting, right? Like that's really, and like that's very much in favor of you. Now, what's also interesting is that lineup has a 110 defensive rating, 63rd percentile. They're able to defend because if you watch the film, here's what this looks like: is they're able to switch and then bring help, because whenever you bring help on the strong side, you got to have one guy on that weak side in the corner who's guarding your corner 3-point shooter and the guy in the dunker spot. They have three of the best that can do it: LeBron, DFS, and Rui. Those three guys are awesome at that particular role. They're very good in that role in particular. It's one of the few areas where LeBron doesn't you actually want to run LeBron strong, like to LeBron strong side if you're the Wolves, because then he cheats up for no explicable reason and allows backdoor cuts and open threes. But weak side, LeBron knows the assignment and he stays home and is able to manage it with his physicality. I don't mind if you want to come back at me with like, okay, but can LeBron really handle if it's Naz Reid in the dunker spot, Julius Randle in the dunker spot? Can he handle that physicality and recover to the corner? Like that to me is a decent question, but it also might want to be in DFS, who's also a hoss. So like defensively, actually, I think there's some advantage there. That's just with that lineup. Sorry, I deviated. Offensively, this is very simple to me. The Wolves defense is predicated on them not having to double. The elite defenses in the NBA, you will notice, they don't send help. They rely on their guys to be like, we don't have to. We're going to stay home. We don't have to help out our teammate. He's going to take care of his job. I'm going to take care of my job. Like, we'll crowd down and recover. It's like an amoeba. It goes in and then back out to recover the shooters. Luka breaks it. Luka detonates it. And Luka causes it for them to be like, we have to send help. We can't leave him alone in this situation. Now, there's like an outcome here, I think, offensively, where one of the things that got noted on Twitter a few weeks ago, I forget who said it. I apologize for the person that missed it, but they made a really good point that I oftentimes forget. Coming off of pick and roll. So let's say that Luka sets a high pick and roll with Jackson Hayes, and he's driving right. Luka's not great at pull-up jumpers. It's not his preferred mechanism. He doesn't want to try and get ahead of you because he's not fast. He's methodical. And so if Rudy drops in coverage and gives him that mid-range jumper and Jaden McDaniels is coming around the top of the screen, you should have an opportunity there to be able to let him shoot that jumper. What he did versus the Wolves last year is he threw lobs. Well, you don't have Daniel Gafford. You don't have Derek Lively. You've got Jackson Hayes. And I don't understand how, but Jackson Hayes has actually been pretty good. Like Jackson Hayes, Kevin Porter Jr. It's just lots of problematic people having excellent months of basketball. The corner threes are my big thing here. You mentioned the defensive profile. The defensive profile, you're right. It's awesome. The Wolves are 7th in opponent 3-point rate. And they're 6th in opponent 3-point percentage. They don't let you take them. And if you do, they make sure you miss. It's awesome. But Luka breaks all that because once you start having to help more, now the Wolves are in that same position where they're having to give up those corner threes like they did last year to PJ Washington. Same deal here, only it's going to be DFS, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura. That to me is like why I'm pretty confident in this offensive set. The other thing is that I think Redick is going to spread them 5 out. I think Redick's going to be like, if Rudy Gobert scores 25 points a game, we're going to win the series. Go for it. And they're going to play small, small, small. And that causes, I think, a lot of stress on that Wolves defense because now you're back in that same thing with the Utah Jazz, right? Where Rudy's having to guard a guy sitting in the corner. And let's say he's guarding LeBron James. LeBron's going to park himself on the perimeter. If they run LeBron at 5, where's Rudy going to go? You can play zone, but they have the shooters to break it. So that to me, like when I walk through this, if Luka wasn't singularly as good, and honestly, he hasn't been as good this year as he was last year. He's been hurt. But if he wasn't singularly as good, I wouldn't be here. The other thing, though, I will say is like Austin Reeves junk possessions are going to be a real problem here, where it's like you do a very good job of crowding the initial action and performing your scheme on Luka, but you're a step off, and Austin just creates something off of the drive. Austin's just a good enough offensive player at this point. What a swing for him for the last 2 years. Like, awesome. Wow, not great. We totally overrated this dude. Oh, okay. Maybe if he played the entire year like this, he would have been most improved player. So that's where I get to on the offense. Do you have any rebuttals there? Because I know that like the matchup stuff you're dismissive of.
No, I mean, I'm not dismissive of it. I think the matchup stuff, like you said, I think I mostly agree with most of those things there. I think to me, Luka not being as good this year matters to that equation. And maybe that just doesn't matter in this particular matchup. Maybe he's going to break down this matchup. But I was really underwhelmed, actually, kind of looking through of like I've long been a Luka playoff defender.
Yep.
And then he suddenly had the run last year and you don't need to defend him anymore. So I kind of dug back in. His defensive metrics go up a lot in the playoffs, which I think is probably just effort a little bit finally because it's the playoffs. The offense, there's a lot of James Harden there. There's a lot of like, and like I've actually been a James Harden playoff defender also, but like he's still doing a lot of stuff. And when you're doing a lot of stuff against the best teams in the playoffs, you're bound to get a little bit less efficient and a little bit worse. That's all fine and normal. But if you're LeBron or the guys that we compare Luka to, you don't get worse. You still do the great thing. Luka's gotten a little bit worse. I still think that this slightly worse version of Luka getting slightly more worse in the playoffs, you can live with that. LeBron, too, famous last words because it's LeBron, even at age 40, but his metrics, his overall profile has been slightly down with Luka, not better. It's been even further down in the last 12 games since he missed a couple weeks. And we've seen that this year. That, like, to me, that's not a doubting LeBron thing. I'm done. I gave up on that a while ago, but I can doubt a 40-year-old's body being ready to go. LeBron's only had one playoff run more than 6 games since the title. So can it hold up? Now, it doesn't need to hold up more than 6 games for this particular series, but he's still kind of coming off the injury. Maybe this particular week sitting at home is the perfect scenario for that, and maybe that fixes things up real good for this series. Austin Reeves has been great. I give you that one for sure. Austin Reeves, like, as Timberwolves fans, when you finally play the perfect defense and you stop Luka and you stop LeBron, and now Austin Reeves is just like the third guy going downhill on you, like Tyrese Maxey was for Philly last year. Different version, obviously, but like, it's just killer. It sucks. That sucks when that happens. But yeah, the Lakers are going to score. They're going to have some answers. I just don't know that they're going to dominate this defense the way that it felt like happened in the Western Conference Finals. I just want to clarify too the numbers. I gave wrong numbers on since All-Star break with Luka, just for the record. 18-12 is the official record. 17th on offense and defense, which is very weird. It's like, how are you below average? And I know part of the answer is because they've been missing some games, but part of the case when we came on the night of the Luka trade and say, okay, I'm gonna take some Lakers futures, and I did not take it anywhere near as strong as you give me credit for. I kind of took it contrarian and was like, well, look, it's a pretty long number. It's Luka and LeBron.
Fair.
I won't mind having the ticket when we get there. I still don't mind. It's 22-1 the ticket for the championship, but like the whole point of why you wanted that ticket was, man, imagine what the offense could be. Just imagine with LeBron and Luka, how good could the offense be? Can we get enough defense? But imagine the offense. We're still imagining the offense. Like, there's not even a 5-game stretch sample where it's like, man, did they really figure it out there? They really got like a top 3 elite offense. We don't have it yet. So at some point, this version of the team, until they rehaul the roster, why should I keep imagining an elite offense that we haven't seen yet?
219 possessions, which is the same as the starters. Because remember, DFS missed some time too. This is the small ball lineup. Luka with Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, Rui at power forward, and LeBron at center. 130.6 offensive rating.
It's pretty good.
111.12 defensive.
That's great. So now you just have to convince LeBron to play center for the rest of his career. The thing we've all been wanting for the last decade.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But here's the other thing, though. With this roster, he doesn't have a choice. Like,
it's true. But like almost by default, they might have to do that. And man, will they, like, you're right. LeBron at the 5 against Gobert, goodbye. Like I don't want the bet anymore. I don't want to watch the games. As a Timberwolves fan, it's not going to be fun. But I've been waiting for LeBron at the 5 lineups for a long time, and they don't do that because LeBron won't do that usually.
I also have a point in your favor. So if you're like me and you believe that every year is a microcosm, and you don't throw out what you knew in before, but you have to not assume that everything is static, right? Which goes against my 10 word thesis directly. But it's like little differences is the important part. So this year, there's been 68 possessions when Jaden McDaniels has guarded Luka Doncic. 15.5 points per 75 possessions, 5.5 assists per 75 possessions, 47.8% true shooting.
Oof.
Yeah. Now, 6.6 free throws for every 75 possessions. So, like, he gets to the foul line. But even then, that's not too terrible. Like, you're okay with that. So the numbers, what I'm trying to say here is, this is, by the way, via databaller.com, DATABALLR.com. Great site. You should use it. It's got different combos, last execute. Like, that site's phenomenal. I've been using it a ton. So, like, there's kind of like an idea there that maybe Jaden can do better here. I think this Lakers offense has so much, and a lot of it, as usual, is like because you're like, outside of those three guys, I don't want any of these Lakers. And I'm like, Gabe Vincent's been really good since D'Lo got traded. He looks like an NBA player again. And it turns out that when you trade D'Angelo Russell, the other guards are like, oh, like, so we're playing seriously basketball now.
Yeah, well, both of these teams know that.
I don't expect to see Dalton connect in this series. I don't know who else we're going to see. Like, they've got a pretty short rotation because of where the trades are. The Lakers are playing with house money. Jared Vanderbilt will play. I'm not going to like those minutes. Like, Vando's probably going to get killed in his minutes, but we'll see. A lot of it's going to be the off minutes when they have to stagger, what that looks like. Because the Wolves, Finch has done an excellent job in staggering his guys to make sure there's two starters on the floor at all times. Like, the Wolves have a deeper, more well-rounded team. I'm with you on that. But
yeah, to just to put some numbers to that, because I had that note as well. I think the Lakers very definitely have 3 of the top 4 players in the series. Yeah. Austin Reeves being the third, and then I don't know who the Timberwolves' second best player is, depending on what you think for the matchup, but it's behind Austin Reeves. So is Ant for second or third is a question you got to figure out. I think it's those 3 in what order. I don't know. It probably depends on the game. I personally don't think Ant can be the best player in this series. I think he can be the best player in a game several times, enough to win games.
Yeah.
After those 4, I would take, if we're picking teams, we're schoolyard picking, the next 6 guys on my board are Timberwolves in some order. Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, and Naz Reid are all coming off my board before probably Dorian Finney-Smith is my next guy. And I do like DFS. I like, maybe he's in that mix of things, especially love a good just wing rotation guy in the mix. The Timberwolves, if Rudy can stay on the court, if Julius Randle cannot be awful like he has been in the playoffs, which are 2 really huge ifs, if those go away, then there's no more depth advantage anymore, and maybe that's not a thing. But I do think, like, you're not going to close the gap of 3 of the top 4 with, oh, well, we got guys 5 through 10. That's not a thing in the NBA. You want the top guys, but it's not nothing either. Where would you rank Ant in the top 3? And do you push back on the next 6 being Timberwolves?
Ant's second, no question, like zero question here. You know, look, you're the Luka defender. I'm the one that's going to be like, actually, like, there's a lot of L's in there. But like, he's a walking triple double. Like, he's a one-man army. He's 30 points and 10 rebounds and 10 assists every game. So he's going to get the top nod. I love Ant's competitiveness. He's a great defender. He's a great playmaker. He's an awesome scorer. He's out of the 3-point array, which would matter a lot if they were playing a team that's going to play drop defense. He's not. They're going to switch. They're just going to switch and take away his 3-pointer, and that's going to hurt their offense a lot. But he's definitely second. Like, there's zero question there. I'm encouraged to hear you listing Naz Reid as like a player you would ever take, since you've been so low on him.
He was last on my list, but I put him.
So, I think Dorian Finney-Smith is higher in that list. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not going to put Gabe up there. That really is kind of the list. I would put Rui in the list. Rui's been really good for them. He's been really important. Rui's a reliable 3-point shooter who can play versatile defense. He's not a good rebounder. He doesn't operate well as a big, but for the stuff that they need him to do, I think he's pretty effective. The coaching matchup, this is probably the best coaching matchup, I think, of the first round.
Yeah.
We've got JJ Redick versus Chris Finch. JJ's going to think of the best thing about Redick is that he's going to think of things from an inventive standpoint. He's not going to go into it with like, these are my principles and we will do these principles and this is how we will play because this is who we are. This is Laker basketball. He's going to be like, I want to beat this team. So what do we got to do to beat this team? Which is why I think we're going to see LeBron at 5. It's why I think we're going to see a lot of small ball. It's why I think he's going to lean into an offensive series. He's not going to try and win a slugfest with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He knows that's not going to work. Like, he knows that's not going to work. He thinks he's going to believe that they can get enough stops with a switching defense that mucks up their actions and forces Rudy to make plays or Julius Randle. But that to me is like, it's a Finch. I think the best thing about Finch is he is very particular about keeping pressure on your weak points. He doesn't hunt you, but what he does is he looks at it from more of a lineup standpoint. This lineup can't rebound. Let's get 2 rebounders on the floor. This lineup can't shoot. Let's get some offense on the court to outpace them. Like, you'll always kind of look at the lineups and be like, oh, like the Wolves have like a really good lineup to beat whatever they're facing on the court. And Finch's flexibility with that, I think, is a huge plus. I would give the edge to Finch because of experience here, but this being JJ's first playoff series as a head coach, but I think it's very tight.
Yeah, I had that note too, that like I don't know who I pick in this series. I think both are very good coaches. I don't know if I can give a clear advantage. If one does find a clear advantage, then I think it super tilts the series because I think it's pretty close otherwise. One note I had just on Timberwolves on offense. The Timberwolves traded defense for offense when they traded Karl Anthony Towns. The Timberwolves, no, take that back. The Timberwolves use their offseason to try to add offense at the expense of defense. Not the Towns move, but getting Dante DiVincenzo, getting Julius Randle in, opening things up, trading for Rob Dillingham, who's not going to really feature in this series, I don't think, but they admitted to themselves that being the number 1 defense with a league average offense was not good enough. That is not how you win a title in the league. This was a bet on, can we be a better team if we are a more balanced version? One of the big changes was the threes. The Timberwolves, for literally the first time in franchise history, are taking and making threes, and they are stopping threes. They're top 7 in 3-point volume on offense, and they're top 7 in limiting 3-point volume on defense. That's just fine with the Lakers. They don't want to hit threes anyway. But the math, I think, can really work in Minnesota's favor here. Maybe not if Ant just can't get the threes off and they can't fall. I think you're probably going to talk about Dante DiVincenzo getting the threes up later on. I think Timberwolves can win the math here with threes in a way that the Lakers can't. And that's going to be a point when we get to our other series we get to as well, where the math part still matters here. I think we're going to get a slow series. Both these teams are bottom 10 on pace. So the math matters even a little bit more there. You hit a few extra threes, and that goes that direction. The Lakers, too. The Lakers have more double-digit losses this season than any other protected seed, like a top 6 seed. They have almost as many double-digit losses as they have double-digit wins. 21 losses, 22 wins. So that's not great. And if the shots aren't falling, they sometimes really don't fall. Now, part of that is because Luka, LeBron, Davis, whoever have been out, so then they just lose by a bunch. I'm sure that's some of those losses, but I do think that there's a way here where the Timberwolves can win some games and even win a couple games comfortably, potentially. It's interesting to me that both of us took either side in 6 or less. So if I'm a listener and I'm not really totally sure which side I'm convinced by on the argument here, maybe the bet is under 5.5 games. Maybe that's the thing. Like, I think both you and I are saying, I'm not necessarily sure that this goes super long. I feel like one team could just have it, and then we'll know.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's a possibility here.
It's a tilt series. If the Wolves come out and they prove that Luka's not who he was last year, and that the Lakers defense is fraudulent, then the Wolves are going to smack them, and it's going to be 2-3-1 very quickly in that series, and I think the series is over. If the Lakers come out and if they win both games in LA because the Wolves are getting used to it and the crowd and everything else, and then Luka snatches their soul in one of the games in Minnesota, we're done. Yeah. So I don't mind it at all. I don't mind a play on the under. This does feel like a tilt series to me, kind of the same way that Suns and Wolves was last year, where it was like we were in that series, and I was going the other way. I was like, Finch, I think actually is going to adjust here, and if he does, I don't know what the Suns are going to do. And then, pew! So, interesting, I think, to look at it from that perspective. One more thing I think is just from the math thing here. The Lakers do generate threes. It's out of very specific actions, and they're going to use a lot more of those actions, I think, in this series. So we'll see if the Wolves can defend them ably. Let's move on, and let's talk about the Los Angeles Clippers and the Denver Nuggets after firing their head coach.
I need to do one more thought that I thought was really important that I found. You probably have this note anyways, but on Lakers Wolves, one other thought that I think is key. Really important to watch the first half and second half splits. That was something that really leapt out to me watching. Lakers are the first half team. Timberwolves are the second half team. Los Angeles is top 4 in first quarter net rating, almost +9. Top 4 in first half rating, almost +7. At home, they're +13.7, second best in the NBA, I'm assuming behind Oklahoma City. They're not a good second half team. They're minus almost 5 in the second half on the season. LA is 43-7 leading in the half, 6-24 when trailing. So early with the Lakers, but you don't know early with the Timberwolves. Timberwolves are +7.8 in the second half. At home in the second half, they're over 13 to the good, and they're especially good in the fourth quarter. They're number 2 in net rating fourth quarter. So I do think if, we talked about the tilt thing just then, there could be games. It's going to be very scary. There's going to be games by the numbers I just said that LeBron and Luka look like LeBron and Luka, and the Lakers go up 12 at the half, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the spot I'm supposed to live bet the Timberwolves? Down 1-0, down 12 at the half when it looks awful? That's what the numbers are saying, that that's where, if you believe that the depth matters, if you believe in Minnesota having that belief they showed last year, that comes from Ant, having that dog in them, Minnesota has that belief in the second half and punches back, and the Lakers are the older, thinner team, and that does set up, I think, in a way that could favor Minnesota if they have that second punch in them once they settle in. So either way, first half, second half, if you like the team, Lakers early, Timberwolves late, but I thought that was a really important spot here before we move on.
I like that a lot. I will also add, I've got Dante DiVincenzo to lead the series in threes. That's +1,600 at BetMGM now. Or not BetMGM, Bet365 now. If you look at what shots the Lakers allow, they actually it's squeezed out to the corners. They try and stay home on those. JJ Redick's a math guy. He is paid attention to all these analytics. He doesn't want layups and he doesn't want corner threes. That's what he's trying to avoid, which means those above the break threes are what he's going to go for. Guess who takes a ton of above the break threes? Dante DiVincenzo, and he shoots them at a very high clip. We found this yesterday talking to Joe Delera. Shout out to him. He was the first one that suggested this to me, and then I did the kind of follow-up research and really kind of honed in on it. DDV is second on the Wolves on above the break threes behind Taurean Prince at 39%. I think the Lakers are going to be line number 1 is going to be on Taurean Prince, who I really like, but they're going to stay home on him. I think DDV is going to get some opportunities to hit some pull-up threes in transition as well. So I like DDV at 16-1 to lead the series in threes. You have any prop plays?
I like that one, actually. That's the only play I had, so I'm in on the DDV as well.
All right, let's talk Clippers and Nuggets. This will be fun because I've gone back and forth on this about 1,700 times in the last 2 days. Give me your 10-word thesis on Clippers Nuggets.
Don't believe in either, but I'll believe Kawhi for now.
Okay. Mine is gonna be, I don't know. No, it's I think mine's gonna be, you can bank on their strengths and weaknesses getting each team 2 games. That's going to be mine because I'm going to play the over on games. That leads me into the series price as we take a look at those. Let's take a look at what Bet365 has us on. The Minnesota Timberwolves was who we talked about last. The Los Angeles Clippers are now +100, Nuggets -120, it looks like. No, oh my God, it's flipped.
That's flipped, yeah.
Clippers -120, Nuggets +100. Wow. The market move on this from Sunday is nuts. Predictable, but
How did
crazy.
this open on Sunday? Where was it at when you first saw it? How did
Crazy.
this open on Sunday? Where was it at when you first saw it?
I don't. I'll have to go back and watch the
Was this the
buckets live
minus
to remember.
190 or is this not that one?
I'm pretty sure it was. Like, it was a big
Yeah.
number on Clippers. Like, it was big, and everyone was hitting it because, and I was like, well, and then I lose out on the CLV. I could have gone both ways on this and just profited, but not surprised. The sentiment has been. I did Vison yesterday, and they were like, Matt, I haven't met anybody who likes the Nuggets here. I haven't talked to a single person today on anyone who likes the Denver Nuggets. At BetMGM, the Nuggets -1.5 is +145. So Nuggets in 6 or less is almost 1.5, $1.50 here. It's $1.45. What's your best bet on the series? This should be fun.
I'm taking the Clippers, and I'm going to take a Clippers escalator. So I'm going to take Clippers just outright -105, and then I'm going to take. I think actually that this is a short series. So we're going head-to-head again here. I'll take Clippers in 5 at 9-1 and Clippers sweep at 18-1. Split the escalator there. Those are all at BetMGM. I think the Clippers can win. I'll say this. This is the series I am least certain about also. So when I'm coming in with best bets that are super long numbers, that's not me being overconfident. That's being underconfident and being like, well, if I'm going to be right, let me be right with a long number. To me, if I want the Clippers here, I want them early and I want them fast. So I like Clippers and then Clippers in 4 or 5.
So here's the problem for me is that the market on this it's like -200 over 5.5 games. Like, no, like the market is like, yeah, you're right. It's going to be a long series. There's no value there. And I don't want to go the opposite way because I do feel in my analysis that a lot of mine is, I think Kawhi is worth 1 to 1.5 games. And the Nuggets defense is worth 1 to 1.5 games for the Clippers. I think Jokic is worth 1 to 1.5 games. Well, we'll say 2 is worth 1.5 to 2 games. And the Clippers offense is worth 1 game to Denver. So I get to 6 here pretty evenly. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take Nuggets 4-3 at +375. I'm going to take Nuggets in 7.
I don't mind that.
And if it plays out the way I want, I should be able to get a price. Now, maybe that I'm wrong and the Clippers you're right, and the Clippers just stomp them. I'll just tell you, I am not putting my foot down on this one because matchups, I keep being like, well, I like that for Denver, and I kind of like that for Denver, and I kind of like that for Denver. And then there's this voice in my head that's just like, their defense is garbage. And that's a problem because it really is.
So let me transition then into I kind of made this point when we talked about the Bucks series on the previous pod. Go back to listen on if you haven't yet. I talked about one-man teams don't make deep playoff runs. One-man teams don't win playoff series. I think the Denver Nuggets are a one-man team right now. I think the Denver Nuggets, though they in theory have their entire supporting cast, Jamal Murray is what made them not a one-man team, and I do not buy that Jamal Murray is making them anything but that right now. So I did the research today. Between yesterday's recording and today, I did a little more research for you. I have a few. I'm just going to really quickly rattle off some seasons and names of, here's a guy that is an all-time great player with not great teammates. By all the advanced metrics, Jokic has had not great teammates this year. That's why he has such a strong MVP case, because he's having this crazy, breaking all the advanced metrics numbers. But Jamal hasn't been great this year. Aaron hasn't been great. MPJ has really not just been good for the team at all. Christian Brown's been very good for them, but I'm not going to call that a great teammate. So 12 seasons I found that I classified as like an all-time great individual season, an MVP caliber individual season with effectively average at best teammate play or worse. Kareem, 75, 77, and 78, 76 to 78. He is MVP, I think, all 3 of those years. They missed the playoffs one of the years. They won a series one time in 7. That's a common theme here. That's why I'm bringing this up now, because it fits with your bet. And then they lost in the first round another time. Michael Jordan, 88 and 89. Not really positive teammates. The first year, they beat the 500 Cavs in Game 7, Game 5 then, but 5-game series. The next year, they beat the Cavs again with the shot. That's Game 7 again, Game 5. A deciding game again, where it's like, the all-time great player could at best push it to the final game make the hero play and win one series, and then that's it. Now, that year is one of the best examples of the hero play, but that's because Scottie Pippen made his leap that year in the playoffs. They went all the way to the conference finals, which is as far as any of these teams got. David Robinson, 94. Tracy McGrady, 03. LeBron, 2008, 2010, fits this range as well. And then Russ and Harden in 2017. Here's how the math works out. There's 12 teams on that list. 6 of the 12 made it past the first round. 3 of the 6 that made it past the first round took it to the deciding game to do it. So if I'm right that Jamal's just not good enough, this is not about Jokic. Jokic is good enough to do all the things he can. I just listed him compared to Kareem and MJ and LeBron. That's a pretty good group. If Jamal and the teammates are not good enough, and I don't think that they are, then you are maybe good enough to push it to the limit and take one series against a beatable team like the Clippers in 7. That's why I don't mind your bet. And that's about it for you. There are 2 conference finals out of those 12 years, no finals berths. I don't think that the Nuggets have anything of a finals run in them unless Jamal magically turns back into championship year Jamal Murray. And I don't see any reason he will do that this year. I don't see any reason he'll do that against Chris Dunn this series.
Okay. So let's start here with this. There's all this conversation about how bad the team is around Jokic. This is still the following. The next 4 players behind Jokic were all top 6 in the rotation 2 years ago when they won the title. So they can't be garbage.
I didn't call them garbage.
Like, they can't be as bad as everyone describes them. Like, that just can't be the case. I understand why when you're looking at the numbers. So here's what's weird. Did you look at the player data after January 1st, or did you only look at the player data on a whole season level?
Oh, I looked anytime where I had a team split, then I usually looked at the player data within for that same split as well.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is specifically because I've been a long time, like, Jamal and I, not best buddies. Doesn't like me much in the media room. I think I've tried to be as professional as possible. I think Jamal's an incredible competitor. He's had some amazing games. I try really hard to not waste his time. But the second half of the season, he's looked better to me than he has since before the injury in 2021. That's how much explosiveness and burst he's had. 22 points a game. On Locked On Nuggets, the joke is that the next time anyone has 22 and 6, that's the Jamal Murray. 22 and 6 is the Jamal Murray. He has it every single year. And he had a horrible first half of the year, and yet he still wound up with, post January 1st, 22 points per game, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers. These are the splits, Brandon. 49, 41, 92. Efficient as hell. He's an underrated playmaker. The numbers support your case from this thing. The matchup data on Chris Dunn versus Jamal Murray is rotten. It's like 50. He's like 52% true shooting, which is not good enough. The problem is that all of those matchups were when Jamal was struggling. None of them were after Jamal got right. And if I look at the kind of players that bother Jamal, Chris Dunn isn't the type. You can say that, like, what's the difference between Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who owns him, and Chris Dunn, who does not? And my answer would be, like, honestly, part of it's like the Canadian thing. But also, like, there's a factor in here of NAW is actually a little bit bigger. You have to have a certain amount of physicality to it. That's why Jaden really messes with him. Chris is, I think, I would have had Chris in my DPOY ballot if he'd been eligible this year. I really would have. I think Chris is deserving of DPOY consideration. That's how good he's been. I don't like this matchup. He's gonna get screened by Jokic, and once Murray gets into space, when he's got that burst, he's gonna be able to operate, I think, a lot better. So the offense, I actually have a lot of confidence in. Zoo does a good job on Jokic, no doubt. Does a really good job on Jokic, but I don't necessarily think that they're going to be able to slow down the Nuggets. The Nuggets' firepower, to me, will maintain. This Clippers defense deserves a ton of credit. This is a positional defense. This is like if you built a really sound defense that just didn't give up anything. It's not the Thunder that, like, rip you to shreds. No. It's not even the Wolves that are so massive and, like, always on you and relentless. It's just like, we are the most disciplined, consistent defense in the NBA. that defense versus elite offense, I'll take the elite offense. And the Nuggets have had an elite offense despite the underwhelming cast.
So here's where I'm going to push back. I'm not going to push back about the Clippers defense. That was a really good capture of what I feel about their defense too. I think it is a very good, not necessarily elite defense. I know that they're like third on the season, but yeah, I think they're maxed out on coaching. I think Ty has gotten the best from them. I think that good offenses, great offense can still beat them. I'm not convinced that the Nuggets are a great offense. You said January 1st forward. I think that you need to split that data. And I know we're going smaller sample that way, but January 1st to All-Star break, the Nuggets are the number 1 offense in the NBA with the number 12 defense. Both their EFG offense and defense went up a lot. They're 18-6. Since then, 14-13, down to the ninth best offense, 23rd defense. Negative net differential. Their EFG's back down. Their turnovers are back up. Their fouls have slowly trended up all year defensively. And here's the important thing. I agree with you about Jamal Murray in that really good stretch before All-Star break. Jamal Murray had a 10-game stretch. I know you don't like BPM, but it's the number I can grab. 10-game stretch around All-Star break, he had a 6 BPM. Before that, he was 0.3 on the season. After that, he's negative 0.3 on the season. There was 10 awesome championship Jamal Murray games in there. And now it's gone away again, and so has the really, really good offense again.
But don't you have to at least open up the possibility here that this is recency? But like, they had their worst stretch of the season there before Malone got fired. Like, they had their worst stretch. They lost 4 in a row, and it was all like disastrous losses. Like, if we're going to narrow this down, if we're going to take the worst stretch of the season and say that's the identity of a team, I don't buy into peaking at the right time. We got a lot of evidence that's not true. We just have a lot of evidence that's not been the case. Yeah, so aren't you worried about the recency bias?
So to me, yes and no. No on the Nuggets, because I don't think that I'm focusing on this recent stretch. I think you're over-focusing on the one really good stretch. And I think
I'm looking at the entire season. Brandon, on the season, they're the 3rd best offense in the NBA schedule adjusted.
That's Jokic, and I'm giving Jokic credit for it. But I don't think that they're good enough with Jamal, and like, I think Gordon has been clearly worse this year. MPJ has still just not really been great just period for them. I think that the Nuggets' really great stretch was the more limited data on the season. I do think that it's possible I'm over-indexing on the Clippers' small sample and recency bias, because March 15th forward, they're the number 1 offense in the NBA with the number 3 defense, with a plus 15 net rating, which is ahead of even Oklahoma City in that span, with number 1 EFG, turnovers are down. Kawhi is back. Kawhi is an 8 BPM. Harden is a 7.7. Harden's gotten way better during that stretch, probably because Kawhi is doing what he does well. Is that a thing? Well, it's since March 15th, so probably not, because you don't really play real games since March 15th. It's 15 games. I'm not trying to over-index on that. If I was, I'd be saying Clippers futures. I'm not taking Clippers futures. I'm not even really confidently taking them in this series. I just don't believe in the Nuggets. I think they're a one-man team, and I can believe enough in the Clippers with Kawhi. The data is not just 15 games. It also happens to be the 15 games when Kawhi finally is playing and looking like himself again. Do you agree Kawhi looks mostly like himself again?
Yes.
Okay. So if I don't want to believe in a small sample unless I can explain it. And explaining that Kawhi is back and looks good again, and that because he's back, James Harden and everyone else kind of falls in line a little bit more. I'm still not telling you that, okay, that's the whole thing, so buy Clippers stock. I'm not doing that. That's why I want the short series. If we get to Game 6 or Game 7, Kawhi probably broke into pieces again, and I don't want the bet anymore, so I'm not taking the bet anymore. If Kawhi is as good as he is, and Harden is playing better, and everyone's like, oh, James Harden, All-NBA, get out of here. The rest of the season matters. James Harden is not an All-NBA player right now. Not this season. It's not happening anymore. If they're that good right now, then that version right now, from what the Nuggets have been for the most parts of the season, in my opinion, I think that Clippers team could win quickly against the Nuggets, which is why I would want a quick series. The longer it goes, the more Jokic can do Jokic things, and the more Kawhi can turn back into broken pieces of Kawhi. And the moment that happens, I'm out. I don't like anything about the Clippers the moment Kawhi is out. James Harden has the one. Nope, I'm out. I'm out on everything. I will buy out of the stock. I'll do whatever I can to get Nuggets at that point. I just think right now, with Kawhi playing like he is, and with my feeling just being out on the Nuggets on the date on the season, that's where I landed.
So I will just say that I take issue with being like, well, in this limited sample, Kawhi looks like himself. And then being like, well, sure, for 10 games, Jamal Murray looked good. I mean, what are we doing? Like, one or the other here, guys. Like, we simply, I'm not trying to equate Jamal Murray to Kawhi Leonard. I'm not.
But
I
Kawhi
am trying to
playing the rest of the season. Kawhi was out injured, then ramping up from injury, and now like that's half of his games. That's like the best we can get from a Kawhi sample. Jamal's played all season. We have a lot of bad Jamal this season.
Well, we have a lot of. I still think we have. I understand what you're saying about the last half there. I don't necessarily buy into that stuff. Like Jamal, I think Jamal's had a really good season. Like, haven't watched it up close, I think Jamal's had a way better season than your evaluation on it. And that's okay for there to be the differential. On the defensive side, the Nuggets are going to get cooked. I like Aaron Gordon on Kawhi Leonard. He can not, like, that's a very good matchup. Like, is it matter? No, Kawhi's going to rise up and hit jumpers because it's Kawhi Leonard. That's what he does. Like, he's a cyborg. There's nothing Aaron can do. But if you're like, hey, get in the lab and build me a defender to defend Kawhi Leonard, I'd be like, you want Aaron Gordon. You want a big, rangy forward with great length and athleticism who can take away his space without fouling. That's Aaron Gordon. Like, that's what you want to do. It just doesn't matter because Kawhi's just going to get to whatever he wants because he's Kawhi. Harden, some of the numbers suggest that Christian Brown's not a bad defender on him. Harden's going to put Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray in a lot of pick and rolls. That's what's going to happen pretty constantly. And I don't know if this is like, I'm going to be on MPJ unders on the series because I don't think he's playable. I think Peyton Watson's going to have to play a lot in this series. I love if they put Peyton Watson in the series. I think there's a lot of stuff Peyton Watson can do defensively in this series. A big prop play for me is going to be Christian Brown overs. I am aggressively shopping Christian Brown series points overs. They're going to have to put Chris Dunn on Jamal. They're going to have to put Kawhi Leonard probably on MPJ to help off to be able to play free safety. They're not going to put Kawhi Leonard on Aaron Gordon, one of those two guys, which means James Harden or Norman Powell are guarding Christian Brown. Cuts every day, all day. Christian's an incredible finisher. He's going to get past him every single time on cuts. It's like they guarded him with Harden primarily. All the time cuts. Christian's one of the best finishers in the NBA now. He's going to have a really good series. The defense though, like, look, some of this is that the Clippers are so isolation heavy. I want you to put the Nuggets in pick and roll so Jokic has to come up and you attack the weak side and get corner threes. The Clippers don't do that. Even you're like, well, but James Harden, no, he still wants you to switch so he can dribble, step back. It's not what he just doesn't do that. They don't have a dynamic pick and roll offense. That's why their offense sucked this year and is good with Kawhi because Kawhi's been singularly amazing. They might just score anyway. The Nuggets are just like they're soft, they're small, they don't play with physicality, they don't run around with multiple closeouts. It's not good. So like, this is why I don't like the cap against Denver more than I like I dislike that more than I like betting on the Nuggets in this series. I just don't like how everyone's like against Denver, and I'm not a Denver guy. I happen to cover the team, but like it's more of I don't agree with the analysis on it, where it's like I don't find them fundamentally to be that the perception of them to be as accurate. But I'm also like, the coach just got fired. They played so terribly, they had to fire their coach who'd been there 10 years. And they're trying to act like now we're together. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. So like Clippers is not going to shock me in this series. I'm not like firm on this series. I'm not like 100% on this. I don't even know if I'm like 60% on this series. It's
we
a
come back and
flip
record
to me.
again tomorrow. You might be on Clippers. You might just switch sides. Like you've been going back and forth on this one.
Yeah. So like Nuggets in 7 seems like the best kind of bet I can get to. I want to fade the perception that the Nuggets are not good. I want to fade the perception I want to fade specifically your perception that the Nuggets are just Jokic and everyone else is nothing. That's what I want to fade because they got some guys and they got some firepower. And I don't believe in the other thing. I don't believe in the Clippers offense. I still don't. It's been bad all year. And maybe that's just me being like, can one guy who's not a point guard really be that big of a difference? Maybe he can. Maybe all the matchups change it up, but That's where I'm at on Clippers Nuggets.
Can one guy that's not the point guard be that big of a difference, says the guy picking the Nuggets against the Clippers, who have one guy who makes that big of a difference, who is not the point guard. I realize he's pretty much the point guard. I understand.
He is center and point guard and power forward and small forward and shooting guard.
Yeah, I mean, look, I I love the Nuggets championship team. Like, I'm not trying to slander these guys. I realize it's the same name still. Aaron Gordon, all the metrics say, and the eye test says that the defense has slowly gotten worse.
Yeah,
Jamal Murray has stretches, but has not been bubble Jamal Murray and championship Jamal Murray. The fact that you know what I mean by those things is because he's had longer, more stretches of the other things. I want the Nuggets to make a run. I want to be wrong here. I'd love to see a full strength Nuggets take on the Thunder in the second round. I don't want to watch the Clippers play a bunch more games. I want the Nuggets to make a run. I am not slandering these players. I think that just saying, well, it's the same names as before, that's true, but they're worse versions. Since they won the title, Jokic has been every bit as good, maybe better, and everything around him has gotten slowly worse each year.
To wrap, I love you're taking Wolves and Clippers. This is like absolute torture for you, and I love it. That's absolutely terrific.
It's not great. Let me just explain the best bet for me. Clippers in 5 is plus 900. Clippers sweep is plus 1800. Those are at BetMGM. I think those are bad numbers. Clippers minus 2.5, so that's 5 or less, is plus 425. I can just take both my bets, and it's plus 550 basically. So much better to just split between those, and you get the upside if they do get the sweep. If there is a team if there's a series where I like the visiting team in game 1, like the underdog, I always want to bet sweep, because you get game 1, then everyone's just like, you'll just rubber band game 2 and we'll see from there. But if you get game 2 also, it gets dark real fast after that. So I'll say to my game 1 bet, probably on the series, has to be Clippers game 1 in series, plus 300, because again, I'm not that confident in the Clippers, but if I'm going to be confident, if I'm going to be right, I want to be right early. I want to get them early and then go from there.
I like it. I like your strategy there a lot. And part of this, we're both saying like there's some uncertainty here. And in uncertain times, it's more profitable to go surely into uncertain situations rather than mine, which is like, I don't know, Nuggets in 7. So I agree with you. It's a good call.
I don't think I had props here. Kawhi steals, I don't mind, plus 275. I would like it if he was going to play the whole series, but you're inviting injuries into that. He's averaged 2 a game in the playoffs for like a decade, basically. So I looked at that. I thought I was ready to hammer Jokic rebounding. It's almost even odds at Bet365. I don't know. I'm curious what you think on that one. Zubac had 13 and 15 rebounds against Jokic this year in 2 of the games. I kind of just felt like Jokic would dominate there, but I don't know. Even odds on Jokic rebounds feels like I should take that.
You want Zoo. The Nuggets are not a good rebounding team. It sounds crazy because Jokic is literally second in rebounds. They're not a good rebounding team. You want Zoo. You want Zoo 100%.
All right. Well, I'm at least going to not take that then. So I don't have any other series angles or series props. It's a lot of Clippers stuff, even though I'm really the least confident of this, any of the ones that we have done so far. Let me ask you this. Presumably the winner here is playing the Thunder. We'll see, but presumably they're playing the Thunder. We'll get there. But if you were saying, okay, I'm going to pick this team to win a series and then push or beat the Thunder too. I want to bet a team to make the Western Conference Finals. I'm going to believe in Jokic. I'm going to believe in Kawhi. Which team is it? Which team has the better chance against the Thunder next round?
Nuggets 100%. They're 2-2 versus them. They have they can't match Jokic. They've proven they can hang with that team. Like, they've proven it. And the Clippers, on the other hand, I think are, again, I just don't believe in the offense. I think that whatever you want to name that phalanx of wings that they have, they'll tear that team to shreds. I think that that's a sweep not a sweep. It's probably 5 games, I think, for the Thunder.
Yeah, I would say for me, what little belief I have in either team, my belief in the Clippers can only go down because the Clippers can only get more injured. My belief in the Nuggets could only go up because if they win games, it has to be because I'm wrong. It's not just Jokic. Jamal and Gordon and the others are doing the stuff. So I think I would like them longer from there.
That's going to do it for Buckets. We'll be back tomorrow previewing the 2 7s. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks to David Payne, Gifford Gould at youtube.com/The Action Network. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Best bets tonight for the Wednesday play-in games. Till then, let's get buckets.